Howdy readers, I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and this is the 2018 book Postscript tag. So this tag was created by Adam at mementomori, and I was tagged to do this by both Steve Donoghue and Lukas at Totally Pretentious. Let's just get right to it. Number one, the longest book you read this year and the book that took you longest to finish. So the longest book I read this year was The Troubled Man by Henning Mankell, and it is 481 pages long. I thought my answer to this was going to be Origin by Dan Brown, but I don't have the book with me. It's at the library, and according to Goodreads, the edition that I read is shorter than this. I remember it being longer than this, but that might have something more to say about Dan Brown's prose than about the actual length of the book. The book that took me longest to finish, which I regret, is The Turning by Tim Winton, short story collection. It took me 8 months to read, and that tends to be kind of what I do with short story collections, is I tend to work on them over a period of months. And but I regret having done that with this, because I read about a third of it and then I let numerous months go by before I dipped back into it. And when I finally got back into it, I realized pretty quickly that these were interconnected short stories. So for the last 2/3 or half of the book, I was having some difficulty making connections that I was supposed to be making. Like, I would have to go back and refer to earlier stories to remember, oh, okay, this person is connected to this person in this way. Let's see. Number two, a book you read in 2018 that was outside your comfort zone. And that would be The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. This was outside my comfort zone because it's a kid's book. And the most tactful way I can put this is I am not what you might call a kid person. I think I've maybe mentioned this on the channel in the past, but when you work for Barnes & Noble for as many years as I did, and you stand at the front of the store and spend 8 hours listening to the children at the back of the store scream and wail because their mom is taking them away from the train that they want to sit on, you become less of a kid person than maybe you were before. Number three, how many books did you reread in 2018? I reread 5 books, 5 texts. Number four, what was your favorite reread of 2018? And that was The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. And to put it in a nutshell, this book really kind of, stoked all anew the fires of my concern for the collective welfare of human beings in me. Yeah, this book is politically right in my wheelhouse, and aesthetically, I mean, it's just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I know some people don't like it much, prefer the short novels of Steinbeck. I think Steve Donoghue's even once called this book bloated, but it's one of my favorite books of all time. So, number five, a book you read for the first time in 2018 that you look forward to rereading in the future. So that would be a book I just finished yesterday morning. I did this as a buddy read with Robert from Barter Hordes. And I will have my video up on this here in the next day or so. The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. I found it maybe needlessly abstract and more puzzling than it probably had to be. But by the end, those things really didn't matter too much. The last chapter of this brought tears to my eyes, and there were only 2 books that did that this year. So, number 6, favorite single short story or novella that you read in 2018. So we're coming back to The Turning. And the title story in this collection, I think it's also the longest story in the collection, is about a woman and her children and her I think it's her boyfriend, maybe it's her husband. I can't remember if they're married or not. But they live in this little kind of RV park on the coast in Australia. And her husband, boyfriend, what have you, is extraordinarily abusive. And she is just kind of making do in this relationship with this abusive man. And she becomes friends with a new woman living in the RV park who is a Christian, whose husband is a Christian. And the protagonist, the woman in the abusive relationship, she becomes curious about religion, about faith, about what it looks like, what it feels like the moment when you turn that corner, hence the title, The Turning, when you make that pivot from disbelief into belief. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What anticipates it? It is a really provocative, daring short story about faith, about abuse, about conversion, and really pretty controversial as well. I have read online that there are a lot of people who really dislike this story, but I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was troubling, and I loved how it managed to explore the possibilities of hope in the darkest circumstances that a person might be going through. Number 7, Mass Appeal, a book you liked and would recommend to a wide variety of readers. And that is going to be The Book of Joy, Lasting Happiness in a Changing World by the Dalai Lama, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and Douglas Abrams. As you guys know, I struggle with anger, I struggle with rage, I struggle with anxiety, and even though I'm a reasonably happy guy, despite those things, this book kind of laid out the ways in which happiness and joy aren't necessarily the same things. They're closely related, but they're also significantly different. And this book functions as a kind of really lovely roadmap to living a more joyful life, a more joyful existence. There's a section at the back of the book actually called Joy Practices. I haven't bought the book yet, but I plan to buy the book, and it is largely to do with these joy practices. I mean, they're literally little meditations and things, and there's nothing kind of new agey about them at all. They're really lovely and really useful. Silent retreat, death meditation, practices dealing with envy and loneliness, frustration and anger, walking exercises, breathing exercises. So this is a book I think could really be of use to anyone. Number 8, Specialized Appeal, a book you liked but would be hesitant to recommend to just anyone. And that would be Disgrace by J.M. Coetzee. I was really disturbed by this book, and not by what's in it, but by how Coetzee presented what is in it. I think there's something deeply suspect about how Coetzee addressed sexual assault in this book. And I like to think I would have thought that even before the Me Too movement. I don't understand why this book is as lauded as it is. I mean, it's the favorite novel of some of the people even here on BookTube, and I think it's troubling in the wrong ways. I think it's a good book. I think it's a solid book, but it's also a book that leaves me feeling uncomfortable in ways a book shouldn't, or for reasons that a book shouldn't. And lastly, reflect on your year as a bookish content creator, goals met, good and bad memories, favorite videos you made, etc. So I just want to say a couple of things along these lines. I will link in the description box below to my favorite videos that I've made in the last 9 months. And as far as bad goes, so all of us at some time or other are going to have to deal with trolls on our channels. And up until just a week ago, I had only blocked one person from leaving comments on any of my videos. And then I had somebody on a video of mine just before Christmas who just wouldn't leave it alone, and they leveled an insult at me, and then the next day they leveled another insult at me, and to those of you especially who have started channels recently and who have no experience with this or anything like that, don't be afraid of blocking people if they are getting out of hand in the comment section, if they're insulting you, if they're insulting your other subscribers. Don't let it get you down. So prior to December 23rd this year, December 23rd was the day I blocked this person. The most dislikes my videos collectively had ever received in one day had been 4. So I blocked this person, and then I think maybe they must have gotten all their friends or something like this, because they have nothing better to do to kind of troll through my backlist and just assign me dislikes on my videos. So on December 23rd, I received 169 dislikes on videos. I find that sad. I find it pathetic. I also find it a little bit amusing. So when that happens to you, if that ever happens to you, just let it be water off a duck's back. Those are people that you don't want subscribing to your channel anyway. So, yeah, as far as bad memories go, that's a crummy one. But like I said, it's also hilarious. Tag some fellow bookish content creators. We're already at the end of the year, so I'm not going to tag anybody. But if in the next 24 hours you feel inclined to do this tag and haven't yet, then by all means, give it a shot. And I will see you guys again with my Buried Giant review. And I will talk to you later. Adios.